Good evening and welcome to the October 5th Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Call the meeting to order. Christy, could you do the roll, please?
Yes, Scott Allen.
Present.
George Piper. Casey Sampson.
Present.
Nicole Wethington.
Here.
Andrew Anderson.
Present.
All right. Looks like we have approval of the minutes, but we don't have approval of the minutes, so we'll table that to the next meeting. Seeing no new old business, any old business come before the board? Seeing none, we'll move to new business. We do have two items on new business today. One of those items, item B, was a late submission, but would seek unanimous consent to have that on the agenda tonight. As I said, we'll have both the applications today. So first, we'll start with the certificate of appropriateness from the Boone County Jail Distillery, and we'll have a staff report. Derek, please.
Yep. Good evening, Commission. Sorry about the late start here tonight. First on the agenda is the Boone County Jail Distillery, owned and operated by Sean Stoller. The location is 104 West Washington Street. The property is zoned central business. Believe it or not, this property has not been before the Historic Preservation Commission prior. It certainly has had a few items that could have potentially been in front of this board, but they were so small and so minor that back in the 2016-17 era, they were approved basically on a staff level. So, but tonight there are a couple things that do warrant your approval, so that's why they're here tonight. The building is rated as an outstanding building, one of the handful that we have. An outstanding building is a building which is more than 40 years old and is of significant architectural or historical significance that is listed or may be listed in the National Register of Historic Places. Outstanding structures may be of local, state, and national importance. This structure is included in the National Register of Historic Places, Lebanon Courthouse Square Historic District. The action requested tonight is for outdoor seating and sign updates. The applicant is seeking approval to use the concrete area on the southeast corner of the building to install an outdoor seating area. The area will be defined by 7 30-gallon aging barrels connected with chains to enclose the defined area. Black aluminum tables and chairs are being proposed, accompanied by teal color to match the branding color. Umbrellas. The proposal is to have 5 tables that can seat 4 people at each table. The barrels will be filled with water to keep them in place. Full of water, each barrel will weigh between 300 to 350 pounds. Will be difficult to move for most people. Maybe not Andrew. I can see you didn't cut your sleeves off tonight on your shirt. The barrels can be drained and moved into the garage at the end of outdoor seating weather. The other item for discussion tonight on the sign is the blade sign at the front door will be refaced to the current branding. The applicant would like to reinstall the post sign that was in this area of the property and was removed during the square infrastructure updates in 2018. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about before I get to the recommendation. This is the area we're discussing here tonight. The barrels, you can see they've laid out as kind of a mock-up, so you can see where the area is. Back before we did the renovations on the square, this area was actually grass, and was, kind of bordered with a little bit of a kind of a landscape wall that was a couple inches tall, and that separated the sidewalk from the grass. In fact, bounce around here a little bit. In this image right here, you can kind of see the area we're talking about, right where that post sign is. And during the renovations of the square, we approached the Stoller family and brought this idea up about removing that grass, doing the node you see right there for the crosswalk, and making an area, creating an area that could someday accommodate outdoor seating. And today is that day, is what we're seeking approval for. So the idea is working. They are here to seek that approval. There is the image of the aluminum black table and chair set, which is very complementary to other sets that have been approved in our district. Here is a image of the umbrella. You can see that the teal color is what they're after. It probably doesn't translate very good in this digital image, but the teal color they are going for, again, that's probably not a good picture. Let's see here. There you go. Matches the sign that you see, a lot of the accent colors. In fact, the awning that did have staff approval about a year and a half ago matches that same color. And then the old entrance door that faces Meridian Street on that side, which you can't see in this picture, which is just to the north of the garage door right there, is the same color. So keeping everything consistent color-wise. As mentioned, when the renovations to the infrastructure were completed, the area proposed in this application was renovated from grass to concrete with the idea that the Boone County Jail Distillery would use this space for seating. This application fits the vision city leaders had during those renovations. Blade signs or projecting signs, are permitted in our district and can be approved by staff. The refacing of the existing projecting sign is appropriate. Post signs, where there is room to install this type of sign, are encouraged in the central business zoning district. Very few properties in the historic district have room for this type of sign installation. Post signs are in the same category as a monument sign. This type of sign is very common in other historic districts. Staff believes the seating and signs will not have a negative impact on the district. Recommendation from staff is to approve the COA application as presented. And I will say that the applicant did seek approval from the Board of Works at the last meeting, and they were granted the ability to use that space. Back up a little bit and tell you why they needed that approval. When we did those renovations and did the concrete, in order for us to be able to spend the money we spent on the project, they had to dedicate that space as right-of-way to us. So that space became city right-of-way instead of privately owned, and they did dedicate that to us. So in turn, that's why they had to go to the Board of Works and ask for permission to use what is now city right-of-way. So that is the reason they went to the Board of Works for the approval, and as mentioned, they did get that. So this is the second step in the process. Bounced around a little bit. That's all I have for this presentation. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer those. The applicant is represented by the general manager, Jackie, tonight. If you have questions for her, I'm sure she's happy to answer those.
Any questions for staff? Okay. The applicant like to add anything to the presentation?
Hi, I'm Jackie Johnson. I'm actually the head of operations and kind of deal with everything on this side because the Stillers do live out of state. So we did talk to ATC officer actually this week, and we did show them the proposal for where we would like to sit as well. The state is willing to do this if you guys are as well. So we are already seeking, permission from everyone to make sure that we're doing this correctly. And we would be happy to work within the guidelines of where you would like the signage. We did propose a few different options of placement, and we do understand that it's a shared space and we would like it to continue that way, which is why we proposed bringing in the barrels as opposed to putting in space, because we can always adjust the placements of that. And we can clear coat them so we don't have any issues with rust or anything going on to the pavement later. Okay, is there anything I can answer for you guys tonight?
In terms of the sign location, is there one that's, I understand you have choice A and B. Is choice A the preferred choice?
It would be, just because as far as placement, we actually took some pictures around the square from every street corner from our building, and it was the most desirable application and being able to see our building, because unfortunately, the old signage is the only real representation we have on the building right now. So we would love to get out there and show people that we're a distillery, not a restaurant. So, yeah.
I know the ATC has a lot of different regulations on outdoor seating, and it's constantly changing. Looking at the image, I don't see any type of barricade or barrier in between the barrels. Do you know if that?
That will be chained. So every barrel will actually be welded in place as far as rings, and then they will be chained together. We also are planning to put flower pots on top of these barrels, like we do at the front of our door as well. And then we'll change the flowers out seasonally, do something to kind of give it a little pop of color. Also prevent people from like trying to sit on the barrels, because we don't want anybody to, one, take anything down, or two, go over the tops of them. So the beautiful thing about them is we can treat them in such a way that I can fill them with water and they're not going to budge, but they won't cause any problems or anything for you guys as well. So
What color will the chain be?
we would love to probably go with either the black if we could, or if you have a preference, we'd be happy to entertain that as well.
Black chain would complement the rest of the downtown's fixtures.
Okay, we'd be happy to make that.
And then the last question I had was the seating. I know as we start to see a lot more, I know we have Ms. Krulik here, she may be able to elaborate, but we have a lot more outdoor seating downtown. And one time, I think there was around kind of a best options for our seating. One of the things I think the board should, or the commission should consider is, as we have these, there are going to be lots of different seating options, and it may make sense to have a few brands that are suggested or encouraged for the applicants. That way, there is a line of symmetry throughout our space downtown. Do we know if these are similar to the other two? Because we have the ones on the plaza and 1830. Is there any knowledge on whether these are complementary or the same?
Yeah. I think they are, I haven't compared them, side by side, but they are very, very, very similar to the Chop House seating, if not exactly the same.
We actually did that intentional. We wanted to mesh because you can see both buildings and the courthouse right in front of us. So we wanted to not stand out. We wanted to look like we fit in. We thought the barrels would be enough to set us apart. So, yeah.
Well, that's great. I think it's important that we continue the outdoor use and seating, but making sure that it's all similar throughout the space. So, any other questions for the applicant?
Just to clarify, so at the end of the outdoor seating season, the barrels, the tables, everything will be removed?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have a garage on premise, which can accommodate all of our seating and everything. The only thing that would stay would be the sign. And we can actually even add on to the sign, the chains, so that could be into the flow of it as well. So going forward, we always know exactly where to start and where to end. So it will actually accommodate down. The ATC officer did measure exactly where perimeter-wise we'd be okay with the state. And luckily for us, there's a beautiful landscaped and fenced-in group of flowers and trees, which created a natural barrier that he was very happy with. So we already have permission from them if we can go forward with it. So, yeah.
And one quick question in terms of the sign. Will that be anchored into the sidewalk then?
It would. That would become one fixture that we wouldn't be able to remove. Yeah.
Questions?
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the COA as presented. I am going to add that we pinned the pending final approval from the ATC. If they have to change if something has to change, we would like you to come back to I would
Absolutely.
like to have you come back if we have to change the layout. I don't see that being happening, but
I
anyway.
actually have the layout that we presented the ATC right with me. I'd be happy to make copies, yeah.
Great. So pending their approval,
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
in a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, we're very excited.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item B. 222 East Main Street, and we will hear from Derek again, please.
Okay, application number 2, the late addition, which I appreciate you all being willing to hear, because time is ticking here on these type of projects, and everybody's trying to fit them in, and if we can accommodate it, I think it's worth the conversation. So tonight, application number 2 is the Boone County Cake Company, owned by Stephanie and John Kim, who are also, if you caught it, I believe last Friday, maybe Fox 59 movie stars now, because I forget, Sherman was on site, correct? Yeah. Yep, and Stephanie was too shy to get on camera. The location is 222 East Main Street. The property is zoned central business. This property has been before the HPC at the June 1st, 2023 meeting for general site improvements, a covered patio, and lighting. The application was approved as submitted. The building is contributing, which is a building less than 50 years old and which is compatible with its historic surroundings, or a building which is over 40 years old and whose historic character remains but does not rise to the level of notable or outstanding. This building is not included in the National Register of Historic Places Lebanon Courthouse Square Historic District. Tonight, the action requested is for a mural. The applicant is seeking approval to install an artistic mural on the north-facing wall of the building. So this is the side of the building that is actually adjacent to the alley, so not visible from the street. The commission has supported artwork in the district previously. Staff believes this mural is in a color scheme that is complementary to the exterior color of the structure. The location of the mural is only visible from the alley in the rear of the structure. Staff believes this mural is in good taste, will be complementary to the business, and most importantly, respectful to the district. Staff recommends approval of the COA application. Pretty straightforward report on this. Let me show you the walls that we're talking about. So as you're standing in the rear of the property, looking to the south, this is the majority of the wall that they are seeking for approval for a mural. There appears to be, once upon a time, a window that was in this location that has been since boarded in. This is the design of the mural. And then one other spot on the kind of northwest side of the building, as you kind of round that corner, you can see the paver sidewalk that, if you recall, is a temporary situation until they put in their permanent stamped concrete features. And this actually part of the mural does require some additional conversation in the planning and zoning office because of some of the elements being a part of the branding of the building. So when you start talking about murals and the Unified Development Ordinance, anytime that you start to use branding specific to the business where the mural is being painted, it crosses into some lines that is considered a sign. So we will certainly work through those on the zoning level prior to them getting started on this, which the applicant is aware of that. So they will reach out to Ben Bontrager in our office and make sure that all the dimensions fall within the Unified Development Ordinance of the sign. I'm not presenting this tonight as a sign for our purposes at the commission. This is, as far as I'm concerned, a mural. And we will certainly get them straightened on the zoning side of things so that we all fit into the regulations. That is it I have on that one. Happy to answer any questions. And the applicant is here as well to answer any questions you might have for them.
If that does end up being a sign and has to seek additional approval, will that have to come back then to our board for an additional time?
Excuse me. I don't think it would necessarily need to come back to us for any approval. The elements in this that cross over to the zoning side of the conversation are the whisk and the bowl. It's simply just that. It's not even the copy. It's not even the language. It is just those two elements are a part of the branding of their sign out front. So what will happen on the zoning side of things is we will get basically drill down and get the dimensions of what that is. Those two elements. We'll take the square footage of that and apply it to what their allowance is for a wall sign within the central business zoning layer. I don't see it being an issue at all because the square footage, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I don't think this will cross over the lines of them having to seek a variance for those two elements. Again, I'm not presenting this tonight to the commission as a sign. It's strictly a mural. It just gets a little bit convoluted because of some of the zoning layers that we have in place for the central business signage regulations.
Any other questions for staff? The applicant like to add anything to the presentation? You don't have to if you think he's covered it. Okay, thank you. All right, any discussion amongst the commission on? I think the mural is well done and tasteful to the district. I agree with the staff recommendation, and we'll make a motion to approve the COA as submitted.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. And that is all we have for new business, and we have a staff COA report.
Yes, there have been no staff-issued COAs.
Derek, I did have a couple quick questions before we adjourn. Had a question on the sidewalk on Meridian Street that was painted recently with the white railroad crossing. How did that come to happen?
Yeah, that was all part of the Next Level Trails grant process to clearly identify where the trail turns, basically. So that was a part of the state's requirements to make sure that we had clear signage that delineated, kind of the differences between where the pavers end, turning south to come down to this part of the Big Four Trail, in turn making its way into Abner Longley. So they wanted some sort of way to identify that, and that was part of the submittal. And the reason we submitted that was because it was the least obtrusive to kind of the landscape of that area, rather than peppering it with a bunch of signage. It more or less becomes crosswalk markings for the most part.
I do think that probably could have, maybe potentially should have been given a COA, because I think it is a conspicuous change in the hardscape of downtown. But I can understand the reason why. And I thought at one time that pavers were to extend down Meridian Street. Maybe that was a false hope, but do you know if there's any discussion of that?
Casey, I honestly don't remember if there was any discussion of pavers extending. That could have been somewhat of a moving target back in the 2016-17 days, and for one reason or another, never developed. But I don't know without I've slept a little bit since then and dealt with a few other things. So those kind of details, I'd have to go back and do a little bit of research on to find out. But it ultimately, no, I know that was not in the final design proposal for the improvements on the square.
Okay, and then the last one I had was with the Brakeman property, the building to the north of that was painted. I guess a similar question on, I don't recall that building, and I could have forgotten about that, but I don't recall that building asking for a COA to paint that brick.
Actually, that's not brick on that. I don't believe on that side. I think it was always that stucco type finish. And again, I have to go back and do a little research. I mean, we started talking about the Brakeman building.
I know that's many years ago.
Pre-COVID. It's taken a little while to develop. So I'd have to get back to you on that. I think ultimately, regardless of the situation, it's certainly an improvement, from the white, off-white antique lace, whatever you want to call it, stucco finish that was up there. And I am working with Zeke's right now with another COA application to actually improve the entire storefront. So we will be coming back shortly for some additional approvals on that building. But I'd have to go back and do a little bit of research on why that transitioned the way it did. With the demolition of the old New Life building and how it connected to that building could have potentially just exposed some areas that needed to be touched up.
I know it's always better to remove paint from those surfaces, especially that older brick.
Sure.
But we did have a nice building that was painted, seeing that the Trivet Ridge was painted, so that was nice, and it looks great. So there is not to say that all painting is bad, but I wanted to just get clarification on that one section.
Yep, I can certainly follow up via email with you on that, just to clarify that situation.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yep,
Any
no
other
problem.
questions or for staff? With nothing, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll see you next month. Thank you.
for Indiana's economic growth, vitality, and prosperity.
So let us break ground today with a sense of pride, a sense of optimism, a sense of responsibility, but also let us work together to build a brighter future for Lebanon and all of Indiana.